Hey, this is Greg Evigan, and you're watching Everything Fab Four on Salon.com.
Welcome to Everything Fab Four, a podcast focused on fun and intelligent stories about the enduring cultural influence of the Beatles. I'm your host, Ken Womack, music culture columnist for Salon.com and a Beatles scholar and historian. No other band, or popular phenomenon for that matter, has enjoyed the global impact the Beatles have and continue to have more than 50 years later. They are part of our human fabric. They created music that still continues to bring people together, and just about everyone has their own Beatles story to tell, some that are surprisingly deep and unexpected. This show seeks to draw those stories out in interesting and insightful ways. Remember, it's a Beatles world, and everyone has a story.
We got to go to the show at the Fonda. His voice was unbelievable.
Amazing. He was on fire.
Blackbird sounded like Blackbird on the record.
Yep.
It was unreal. And he was playing bass faster than
Anybody. And
anybody.
guitar.
And guitar, he was soloing. Paul's fingers were moving so fast, and his voice just sounded beautiful.
Yeah, he really did.
And we were all in a flood of tears.
Today's guests are musicians and actors Nat and Alex Wolff. Long before they became teen television stars, Nat and Alex were simply two music-obsessed brothers growing up in Lower Manhattan, raised in a creative household by actress and writer Polly Draper and jazz pianist Michael Wolff. The siblings absorbed music, performance, and storytelling from an early age. Their journey from neighborhood concerts to national fame was neither manufactured nor accidental. Instead, it emerged from a remarkable combination of family collaboration, artistic curiosity, and youthful ambition. Nat displayed an unusual musical aptitude almost as soon as he could reach a piano keyboard. By preschool, he had assembled a neighborhood band called the Silver Boulders and was writing original songs. Alex, equally fascinated by music, soon followed, first experimenting with the saxophone and later embracing the drums after becoming captivated by the playing of Beatles drummer Ringo Starr. Together, the brothers developed a musical partnership rooted in classic rock, pop craftsmanship, and an infectious enthusiasm for performance. The defining moment in their story arrived when Polly Draper conceived a mock documentary about the boys and their band. What began as a modest family project evolved into the Naked Brothers Band, a film that captured the attention of Nickelodeon executives and was transformed into a successful television series. Airing from 2007 to 2009, the show introduced millions of viewers to the brothers' music and personalities, turning them into one of the network's most recognizable young acts. Yet the Wolff's story did not end when the television cameras stopped rolling. As singer-songwriters and performers, they have released 3 well-received studio albums, including their latest LP, entitled Nat and Alex Wolff. In 2026, the multi-talented brothers will perform live as special guests on the Finding Family on the Road tour with Alex Warren. Welcome, Nat and Alex.
I wonder if you guys could tell me about your parents and growing up with them and how that affected where you are today. It seems like those relationships are so important to the making of you.
It definitely was important making of us. Definitely. It was really important. Well,
we wouldn't be here. No, my dad would play Beatles music on a little tape recorder on my mom's belly when I was a kid. So,
and our mom brought us to term.
When I would, but she would my dad would put the tape recorder up to the belly, and then, I really think as soon as I was able to understand what music was, I immediately became obsessed with the Beatles. And my parents had been big Beatles fans, but my dad's a jazz pianist, so it was mostly he was playing Beatles and jazz. And by like 6 years old, 5 years old, I had completely outdone them in terms of my fandom.
Actually, wait. I have something really, really, really good to show you. This is a tiny little clip, especially if you're recording it, of this is before I can speak. And this is a little clip of me drumming and singing Twist and Shout. Hold up. Wow, this is already not as good as our other interview. Sorry. But it's a lot of pressure. That was a magical thing. It was too magical to be.
This will be magical,
we didn't want
though.
the world to see it. It was too magical to get. Yeah, this will be magical because honestly, this is a cute video. But I think Alex is like in like 2015 in terms of
I thought it was in my favorites. You know what? You guys just keep asking Nat another question.
Well, I do have another question. So,
Yeah.
was because of your dad's background in jazz piano, was that your first instrument then?
Piano was my first instrument. And
drums was mine.
Drums was Alex's, yeah. And Alex got excited about drums because of Ringo, and he loved like all the rings that he had on in Help. And
and they can't get their rings off.
Movie of Help, yeah. Well, they can't get the one ring off.
Yeah.
There's that great scene where they put the, whatever metal thing that they use to like take metal.
It's like a magnet.
Yeah, magnet thing. And all his other rings start falling off and clanking on the ground. And then that one ruby, stays on his finger. Alex is really obsessed with that.
Yeah. Also, where Ringo put his hands was like the first.
Give up and then
the sandwich.
Yeah, I might give up.
The sandwich machine.
This kind look like
shot.
Texting during the
yeah, the sandwich.
All right,
machine.
I think I quit.
Yeah.
But there is
the sandwich
really
is what?
video.
It's the sandwich machine when he puts his hand in the sandwich machine.
Oh God, hilarious!
And she's trying to take his ring. Yeah.
Yes. When the guy's trying to get the ring off, and he's like, "You failed, Jim. You failed." When he does the drill, and the drill breaks on his.
You get Lennon's complete edge and rage from the
sense of humor.
Yeah, from the jump.
I think maybe it's in Hard as Night, not Help, but when John has a real moment where he's like, "Why don't we do the concert right here?" And they start playing. Remember? Yes. Obviously, a line that they told him to say that he didn't want to say, and he really made it. Why don't we just play the concert right here?
He was good at camping it up, like the scene with when he sings "If I Fell" to Ringo.
Love that.
Oh,
God,
you almost think his heart's breaking for poor Ringo.
I know, and I like the way that he kind of follows him around.
Yeah, God, so great.
I have to say, John's, obviously Paul is such an incredible instrumentalist, but John's guitar playing is incredible. Like,
yeah, it's so underrated.
It's so underrated. He's such a, just consistent rhythm player.
And also, close your eyes, and when he does those triplets, and in Get Back, and he's like,
and how about in all those Phil Spector sessions where he's like, playing, that crazy anti-Paul song, How Do You Sleep? But he's like playing the guitar part and singing, and he's like soloing while singing, and he's like a really good musician. They were all just incredible musicians.
Unbelievably amazing. And I just read that She Said is one of the sessions that apparently Paul walked out of, which I didn't know.
Oh, he just said that to me.
All those overdubs are mostly John. And apparently George Harrison is on bass and really helped them arrange that. And that is one of the more unique, amazing fucking Beatles songs. It's one of the few ones where it is.
I feel like this interview we're sounding slightly more Rain Man-ish about the Beatles, but
are we? I think last one we were equally Rain Man.
You were pretty Rain Man before, I think.
Okay, good.
The one that really got me, and I remember this from when I was very, very young, was "I'll Be Back." I remember hearing that and hearing that acoustic guitar. There's a sadness in that song too. He's not going to be
back. Major minor
that
thing.
Major minor change is so.
And I'll be back again.
I love you so.
I think you could argue that Nirvana's entire career could be owed to that song, because that Major minor thing
talks about A Hard Day's Night is his favorite album.
You can really feel it in that Major minor thing, and
all that 90s grunge.
Right? It's the first album of all original material.
Totally. And all that 90s grunge music, like we've been listening to a lot of early Smashing Pumpkins, a lot of Pavement. I don't know about Pavement, but Smashing Pumpkins, like their chord changes are really early Beatles type chord changes, not like Sgt. Pepper Beatles, like Hard Day's Night, Help Beatles. Yeah.
What's the difference when you think about Sgt. Pepper versus those early Beatles days? What's the shift there?
I think you can break it down pretty simply as one is more guitar based chord changes and some then are piano.
Piano and orchestral.
But I think the orchestral is based on his voicings on piano.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something really special about that.
I think
maybe why we love
they used to tour all the time, so they didn't have pianos on the road. So I think they were just writing songs with 2 acoustic guitars on. I mean, I'm making that up. Like I didn't read that. I'm just guessing. And then when they stopped touring, they were just at home with, they all have pianos and stuff.
And I think that maybe they surrendered a little bit to the fact that they wanted to maybe write a little bit more sophisticated chords and stuff, where I think they really wanted rockers in the beginning, even though
right.
And that's why I find it to be such a special intersection
on White Album.
Yeah. Because even though Rubber Soul Revolver is like maybe their best,
transition.
There's a strange White Album thing where they're coming out of the Sgt. Pepper, Wednesday morning at 5, expansive and piano. That White Album is this fusion where you have, Mother Nature's Son and Helter Skelter, and then you have Julia, and then you have I'm So Tired, and you just have like, there's just something about the White Album that I feel like, I know that some people, whatever, think it's like long or it's not like their most perfect album, and I don't think it is. That's why like Revolver, Rubber Soul is like Nat and I's like favorites. But there's something special about their songwriting from guitar to piano and orchestral to trying to boil it back down.
How long is the White Album? Like in terms of minutes?
So it's 2 sides, and then aren't there like 12 songs on each side? Or am I making that up?
I mean, it's got to be 80 minutes long. Yeah. 80, 90. What have you ever played it all the way through? Have you done that?
All the time. I mean,
we used to have it in CDs.
Skip Revolution 9, sorry to say. You skip it, and sometimes you skip Wild Honey Pie, depending on what mood you're in. But
I know some people
that sacrilegious.
Wild Honey Pie.
I like the whole experience because it's constantly double backing on itself. Back on itself. That's what I meant to say. Doubling back, right? Because it's, you'll go from one heavy, almost metal song to something really quiet and subtle.
I know,
it's to like Mother Nature's Son.
Yeah.
But also, how about how like my whole childhood didn't really process George's song long, and then it was only later as I got older, and I'm like, whoa, that's like a super banger on that second half of the White Album.
That's why the Beatles can outfit you for life, right? In a lot of ways. They can outfit you for life in a lot.
They really can.
Totally.
What? So you grow up with a jazz pianist father. I take it you can't just be a scratch pianist then, right? You've got to know chords and maybe be able to read notation. How does that play?
Well, at first he was our piano teacher for a second, and then when I was like 5 or 6, we started taking classical piano lessons. And we can read music. And there's very few times that I'm, noting, putting notes on paper, but I can read music, and so can Alex. Yeah.
And what about mom? As an actress, right? How does that affect things?
I think in terms of the music, not really, but I think that she just, I mean, the special thing about the Beatles is I felt like as a family we came to it together. Obviously, they grew up with the Beatles and all the things, but I felt like something that connected the 4 of us. So that's how I've always seen it. It's not like an inherited thing, even though it was also like Nat and I, it was like, I don't know, something about it felt like just really important to our development. And I think through that, our parents were able to fall back in love with the Beatles, or kind of reassociated with, us as kids. And
I think a lot of times in an artistic family, you use music and films and books to connect. Like that's your point of connection, and it's a really great way to connect. My mom and I always, from when I was younger, like our thing was we both loved Joni Mitchell. Obviously, Alex, my dad, loved Joni Mitchell too, but we had like a thing where that's something we could talk about. I know Alex and my dad love to talk about jazz drummers a lot, and they exclude me from the conversation. I try to get in,
We go, shut the
People let
fuck
you
up.
near the drum.
Nat,
Shut the fuck up.
yeah. And I'm like, guys, this feels a little bit like harsh or
Hey,
something.
hey.
Yeah. And then I keep trying to get in the conversation and no, nothing.
So when did you guys make a conscious decision to make this your career?
I think the music just became, our songwriting and recording and stuff. It became like a constant in our lives, and it was like, and then really young, we had a few songs that really popped off. I had a song called Crazy Car that like charted at number 4 on the Billboard or something, and like, but I think it was really important to us to not let it become too much of a job. Keep it feeling just like
It's still like that.
creative pursuit. And funny enough, I was talking to my therapist about that about an hour ago, that like I tend to do best in my life when everything feels like I'm just following the thing that I'm passionate about, following the thing that I'm excited about.
Most people do best like that, I think.
Well, I mean, some people are like athletes,
You're right.
and they're like, I'm gonna best this person.
That's kind of how Paul was a little bit.
You think?
I think
He was
so.
extraordinarily competitive. Yeah.
I think that Paul actually got a lot of,
From like the Who.
I think he got a lot of fuel. I think that the John and Paul, people talk about the John and Paul rivalry, and sure, but I think that was small scale compared to
How he felt about Brian Wilson.
how he felt about
Mick
the
Jagger.
other. I think that sent these crazy sparks off in his brain, and I think like that's the whole reason, like you said, that they went to, I think you said they went to an 8-track from a 4-track because of Pet Sounds. And in Get Back, when you watch it, there's this, I love when you see Paul's like real full 3-dimensional Paul, not like the Paul he's presenting. And there's that little moment where he goes like, well, yeah, the Beach Boys got a 16-track. Why can't we get a 16-track? And it's when they're talking about it, and I think it's because John has just brought in Across the Universe, and they're wanting to like expand it. And he's like, well, we can get more tracks. We can get more tracks.
And
we
they
just
should
heard
be
a
able
story
to.
about an
They're
hour
the
ago.
damn Beatles.
When we were at the Martin showroom like an hour ago, the guy was saying that he, he knew Paul McCartney was rehearsing right by there, and he had sent out an invitation for him to come by and grab any left-handed Martin he wanted, and he never heard back. So he brought Shabuzi in that day, and he had Shabuzi and the whole band and the whole team in there looking at guitars. And then they all looked up and were like, "Is that Paul McCartney?" And Paul was just standing in the doorway, like, "Hey, can I look through?" So they all looked through, and they said he pulled up in like a Corvette or something, like
something cool,
Corvette.
vintage.
Yeah, so sick.
We're gonna blow up a spot.
Sorry,
Someone's gonna be
maybe check
falling
that out
behind
of
him.
the car. Yeah.
Don't worry, he's not recording any of this.
Speaking of Paul, you did see 3-dimensional Paul recently, right?
I know, we did. We got to go to the show at the Fonda, and it was the second night. He played 2 nights in a row, and I've seen him play a bunch of times recently. No, not recently, but like over the last couple of years. And this show, his voice was unbelievable.
Amazing. He was on
Blackbird
fire.
sounded like Blackbird on the record. Like
Yep.
It was unreal. And he, he was playing bass faster than
Anybody. And
anybody.
guitar.
And guitar, he was soloing his finger. I'd seen
Let Me Roll It sounded
Neil Young in June, and like he's amazing, but his like roadie tech was telling me like the hardest part is that his hands are older, so it's hard, it's hard as a man in the 80s or late 70s to move.
Neil Young's gonna walk in and what the fuck?
I have Neil Young right here.
Yeah, sorry, Neil.
And you don't know anything of my work.
But anyway, Paul's fingers were moving so fast, and his voice just sounded beautiful.
Yeah, he really did.
And we were all in a flood of tears, and there was all these, famous rock stars and actors there, and all of them were so humanized, because usually you see somebody who's worldly famous, and they kind of have an air of like distance because they're putting up a boundary, I think, with people recognizing them or something. But it was all these people who were just brought back to their childhood.
Little
like
kids.
Everybody but Beatles. They're just sobbing and sobbing.
The veil comes down.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's like the Beatle magic. You know, they've kind of always done that to people.
There is something extraordinary about him, right? I mean, it's hard to imagine if he didn't do the job he's doing. What, if anything, everything would have paled. I mean, he can write perfect pop songs. He can play any instrument. He's a virtuoso still.
He
Yeah,
writes music
he's
for
above humanity.
he writes music for like an orchestra without being able to read or write music. He just writes all the parts and sings all the parts to them and writes these beautiful orchestral pieces. He's just like a
He's singular. He's the only one.
yeah.
And there's no one who comes close in my mind, just nobody.
He is kind of the Neo of pop music, and in that sense, um, I've always been puzzled by something he says. I wonder what you guys think about this. He would be asked, when you played Hey Jude, did you know it would be a hit? And he would say, not a chance. I could never tell. And
Oh, wow.
and he said
That surprises
he
me.
couldn't necessarily discern the difference between, just any old song he was writing and the one that was going to hit.
That's what I love so much about
Wow,
him.
that makes a lot of
it
sense.
makes so much sense because I didn't ever knew that quote, but all of his songs feel like they just came streaming out of him. It doesn't feel he has something where all his songs feel effortless, even though he has tons of chords and sometimes he's talking about something lyrically complicated, sometimes he's not, but it always feels like it just flowed
Keep
out.
plucking it out of the sky.
And so he probably doesn't feel like he owns the songs in the way that all the best songwriters, I think, feel like, well, that just came to me. Bob Dylan says, I don't know who wrote those early songs.
Yeah. I mean, Neil Young wrote those 3 hit songs on the same day when he was sick. Cinnamon Girl, Cowgirl in the Sand, and Down by the River. He just wrote it out on his porch.
Wow.
Same day.
And there's Paul in June 1965 recording I've Just Seen a Face, I'm Down, and Yesterday on the same afternoon.
What?
Well, he did? I didn't know that he recorded those 3 on the same day.
Same day,
I wonder what he recorded first. Because he's kind of scream
you know what?
singing
That's
and
a
I'm
great
down.
question. And as a Beatles scholar, I should have that knowledge at the ready. But isn't it amazing? They would record a lot of these songs that we've spent lifetimes with, and they spent like 2 takes with them.
I think about that all the
I
time.
know. Did you know that George played bass on Oh Darling? And I was just listening to Oh Darling, and the fucking bass line is amazing. And I had no idea. And I was thinking, this is one of my favorite Beatles bass lines. It's George.
That
Crazy. I had no
song
idea.
that song has a crazy energy to it.
I always find that thing about how much time he spent on, that the Beatles probably spent, at most an hour on those early recordings, like making those songs. It makes me think of, how they say, if you don't, if you're not going to read the bad reviews, you shouldn't read the good reviews. That like I've had it where reading good reviews about acting or especially about music, you read something where somebody is intellectualizing something from our music that I'm like, they're like, and they did, and it was a nice decision to bring in the strings at this moment and take it out like a throwback to them. And I'm like, God, that wasn't something that we planned to do at all. That was just
That's their
oh,
job.
that sounds like strings. I mean, I love reading reviews of other people's music, but something about reading your own review, it's like, oh God, I mean, I was I doing that on purpose or was I just following some kind of instinct that
I can't do that. I stopped reading my reviews a long time ago because
yeah,
people, like you just said, people attribute things bad and good to you that
that you don't relate to.
Belong to you.
Yeah.
they weren't part of your decision process.
I mean, that Frank Zappa quote about music journalism is pretty amazing, which I can't say because it's too complicated and I can't even keep up with it. But it's basically like people who don't know how to play music writing about something. It's like I think that also it's the journalist's job to do that and to find connective tissue between whatever, and it's the artist's job to not try and intellectualize and just kind of follow your instinct blindfolded. I think.
Totally.
Well, and of course we all make meaning, right? When we hear these songs, we're the ones who create the meaning. They're just the distiller of
Totally.
of the song. And then, I mean, you must see that already, right? You come up with your new album, for example, which I adore, and have now played several more times.
Oh yeah.
I love it, and the first 4 or 5 songs are a perfect, nice run of it's as good as what anybody else is doing anywhere. It's
Oh,
Thanks,
and you know
man.
what? It does not sound derivative. I don't necessarily hear Beatles or Pink Floyd or Neil Young or any of the influences that I know you guys treasure
oh, thank you so
necessarily in the
much.
music. Tell me about the writing of those songs. You know, do you have a set process or do you just wait and let it come to you?
Well, we've talked about how this was weird because we went in the studio, we had a certain amount of days, and we finished the album basically like 85%, and we thought, okay, that's the 100%, the album's finished. But for whatever reason, we're like, we're not ready to put it out. We're not ready to put it out. And eventually, after about a year, we were like, there's just something missing. Like there's something missing, and it's also like there's a few songs that shouldn't be there. And so we wrote a couple more songs and went back, and suddenly that all coalesced, and we were like, let's fucking get this out in the world. Because everything seemed to really work together.
What were the late songs that you added, if you recall?
Tough was late in the game, and it was sort of like it became like sort of it summed up the album somehow, even though we did it later. It sort of was like it was a song that Nat and I wrote completely together,
We kept
sang
thinking
together.
we kept thinking with the album that we had made like probably in February of 2024, we kept thinking like we just doesn't have like the glue. It just doesn't have like the glue that goes all the way through it. It feels like a grouping of good songs, but they kind of not necessarily. And then somehow we did Tough and we thought, oh
That's
God,
it.
this is the glue. We need to follow this. And we kind of went back and rewrote some
Restructure.
songs, restructured some songs, added some new songs. It's even hard to say which is new, which is old.
But we knew that Tough was the watershed. Like, oh shit, we need to do that. And also, I think it changed the way that we looked at writing a little bit of like, okay, there's a lot of magic too, and we have
We
an
really
idea
wrote that together
together.
and sang it together and played it together on Tough. A lot of times I write a song, Alex writes a song, and then we bring it into the studio and we both kind of like battle it onto the recording, just the two of us. But there was something about Tough where like Alex came in with a chorus idea and then I wrote the verses and we were just doing it in the, just kind of putting just hive minding and we kind of took that process into the rest of the record.
Well, and I can't imagine not having that song on there, right? I mean, it really kicks the album off with that fantastic
Totally.
piano cadence. Um,
Yeah.
That's
you
just
know,
something that Alex played on the piano and we put it in reverse. And we're like, well, this is a little bit too distracting to have under the melodies, but let's start the whole record off with this.
Yeah.
it worked.
But that's another thing you don't think about like that's another non-elect. We didn't think, oh, we're gonna start the record off like this. But now when you listen to it, I think it sounds like the beginning of something. But it's
I think
not
it's, yeah, and
what
it's like
happened.
every great artist that I've ever gotten to be around, I think they feel really confused on how they got to what they got to, when they do something that works, because they were usually just following their nose. And then I think it creates this like constant feeling of uncertainty. But I think the thing that makes it palatable in your life is that you're like, okay, usually if I get myself to a place of being relaxed enough, something good happens. Maybe not every time, but if Alex and I get together, like we just got together the other day, right after your interview, or the interview we did with you before, and I went to go meet his cat,
Take one.
and yeah, and I was allergic to the cat, so I was like, had been hanging with him, but then we kind of put him on the ground, and then we were like just playing around with the sound on his keyboard, and we wrote a song, and
Really
it's
cool
like,
song.
I think the song's good. It's like, we are at this point where we've been doing it together long enough that if you put us in a room, we'll come up with something. But if you put too much pressure on it or too much intellectual thought, like now we have to make a song that sounds like this. Now we have to,
It usually sucks.
it just squeezes the freedom out of it. And like,
It's like we don't have to do that. It's like we don't have to do it. We should just so I think we have to come from a position of like do we want to do it? If we're in a room together and we just start playing, and you don't even think about want. It's just there. The notes are all right there, and
Right.
we're here.
I mean, it's a privilege in a way, and that's kind of what John Lennon saw about it. Was that he called the songs that were where people would demand something from him craft songs, and he said, "I can do that. I can write a song on demand." He wrote "A Hard Day's Night" on demand, right? When Dick Lester said, "I need this title track," John said, "Fine," and then afterwards said, "Don't ever do that again." He can do that, but he preferred that kind of quasi magic where he'd be sitting there and something would suddenly coalesce, and maybe it was watching the wheels, right? Or something.
Totally. Yeah,
that's
lovely. We've tried to do that, the sort of craft songs. We've written songs for other people and stuff, and you can do it. We can do it. I mean, we've written songs for lots of.
There's no rhyme or reason. If there was, it'd be a lot easier.
But it's just honestly, for me, it's less inspiring. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the quote from Neil Young that you said last time.
Leonard Cohen.
Leonard Cohen.
He said, if I knew where the good songs came from, I'd go there more often.
Yeah. And we all want to be
true.
It's so genius. Yeah.
And we all want to be inspired. And this record, I sure hope folks will give it a listen. It is, it's truly inspiring for me. You're preparing to take it on the road, right?
Yep, we're about to do a tour. We've been playing our own headline shows, and now we're about to do a tour opening for this guy, Alex Warren. And it's so exciting because we get to play these venues that, these arenas and stadiums and things that, we got to do we got to do a few months of doing that on the Billie Eilish tour, but it's venues that we grew up going to and dreaming of playing at. So it's really exciting.
Everything Fab Four is presented by Salon.com, the premier news, politics, innovation, and arts website. For more information, visit everythingfab4.com, where you can learn more about our podcast and my latest Beatles-related book, Living the Beatles Legend, The Untold Story of Mal Evans. The Everything Fab Four theme song, Seize the Day, is provided courtesy of Black Rabbit, the high-octane Beatles cover band, an innovative psychedelic rock project from Rockaway Beach, Queens in New York City. Like what you heard today on Everything Fab Four? Be sure to subscribe, give us a rating, and recommend the show to your friends. Plus, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at EF4 Podcast. Distributed by Salon.com, Everything Fab Four is a Wonderwall production. Remember, it's a Beatles world, and everyone has a story.